I suspect that basically the figures will be down because many foreign students who used to come here are not coming anymore because they can't bring members of their family with them. But we'll also be talking about the Chagos Islands as well, because the Chagos deal for Britain to give it away to Mauritius seems to be falling down around its ears. Chris, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning.
Thanks very much indeed. I appreciate it's a bit chilly down there, so I'll try not to keep you too long. Let's start off with the Chagos Islands, first of all. I mean, nobody really understood why the Labour government decided to give them away. It now appears that Mauritius doesn't want them. The Chagosians don't want to be anything other than British citizens. And the American government, as it will be coming in with Donald Trump, don't want to do the deal either. So why on earth did we get here?
Well, you're right. The only people that seem to now want to do this are Keir Starmer and David Lammy. It is a terrible idea. They should drop it immediately. Giving away sovereignty of a critical military base at a time when the world is becoming more unstable, more dangerous. China is trying to expand its sphere of influence. Giving away sovereignty over that base is a terrible idea. And as anyone knows, a lease is nothing like the same as sovereignty. A lease can be revoked at any time. So they should immediately, in my view, drop their ridiculous plans, which will make our ability to defend ourselves and our allies much, much more difficult. And as you say, the new Mauritian government, according to reports, is not so keen on this idea either. I think that the excuse that David Lammy gives is that there was some non-binding court judgment. Well, I mean, the clue's in the title. It's not binding, so we should not be ceding sovereignty in response to non-binding judgments. It's a ridiculous idea. They should drop it immediately.
Yeah, I think so. And it's a bit unfortunate, isn't it, that this all comes at a time when Jonathan Pole has been spending quite a lot of time out there in Mauritius trying to convince the government there that it's a good deal. And ever since he's been there, all that's happened is the deal appears to have fallen apart.
Yeah, and as far as I can see, we're proposing to actually to not only give these islands to Mauritius, and by the way, these were never part of Mauritius. They were administered in the colonial era by the same colonial governor, but they were never part of Mauritius. They're thousands of kilometres away. And not only is the Labour government planning to give sovereignty away, give these islands away to Mauritius, they're actually going to pay Mauritius. They're proposing to give money to Mauritius to take them back, which is even more ridiculous, at a time when pensioners on low incomes are having their winter fuel payments taken away, farmers are being taxed, so family farms are going to be lost. They're putting up national insurance on everybody, but somehow they've got money spare to hand over to Mauritius. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it is absolutely bonkers. Immigration, let's talk about that. Kemi Badenoch came out yesterday and said, you know, Britain is not a hotel. I've got some bad news for it, because it kind of is. We've got an awful lot of people being housed in hotels. Many of them came during the time when you guys were in government. The numbers seem to be going up now that Labour are in, and no sign of anybody getting kicked out. But what are you expecting to see, if you can tell us, at 9:30 when the figures come out?
Yeah, well, let's just start with the illegal immigration numbers, which lead to the hotels. Because Labour cancelled the Rwanda deterrent before it even started, small boat numbers have gone up under this Labour government. They've gone up by 23% compared to last year, and that means Labour are opening up more hotels for illegal immigrants. They should, in my view, they should have carried on with the Rwanda scheme. We saw it work in Australia. It would have been a deterrent. It would have worked. But they cancelled it before it even started, and that's why those numbers have gone up. Now, the numbers that are going to come out in about half an hour mainly relate to legal migration, and it'll be that I think it'll cover the 12 months up to June the 30th. Now, some steps were taken by the last government to tighten the rules up, so the numbers are likely to come down somewhat, but they're not going to come down enough. And what Kemi said and what I said yesterday, just truthfully and honestly, was acknowledging that for decades, under successive governments, serious mistakes have been made on immigration. It's been far, far too high. So we started off by acknowledging those mistakes, including by Conservative governments. Mistakes were made, the numbers were too high, and we're going to have, now we've got a new leader, we're going to have a new approach. And that new approach will include a binding hard cap. We're going to do some work to figure out what that number should be, but it'll be a lot lower than the numbers that we're going to see reported in about half an hour's time. And we're going to pivot away from mass, low-skilled, low-wage migration, which unfortunately we have seen over recent decades, and instead we want to see a much lower, limited number of high-skill, high-wage migrants who can make a real contribution. Now, it's a big change, but it's a change that is necessary.
And when you talk about numbers, of course, it's difficult because you end up saying that, yes, we will have a cap of whatever it is. Well, say it's 20,000, which is what it was supposed to be in 2019 under Boris Johnson, and somehow it ended up being 750,000, you know, which is quite a lot more. There will always be exemptions, won't there? Because you'll have people who say, well, hang on, we can't run the NHS without immigration, we can't run hospitality without immigration, people here don't want to do jobs. I mean, do you believe, as Labour have said they will do, I'm not sure they will, that there should be some connection as well between the people in this country who are living here already but not working?
Yeah, so there are two sort of answers to the question about finding the workers we need. The first is, as you just said, we have 9 million adults of working age.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous number, isn't it?
Economically inactive. It is, and it's gone up by about 10%. It's gone up by nearly 1 million in the last 5 years. So I'd like to see a lot of those people. Now, not all of them are going to be able to work. Some of them maybe can't work or genuinely can't work or are looking after children or whatever. But the majority of the 9 million people probably can work. And we want to get those people back into work. That means training. It means businesses making more of an effort to recruit them. It means making the welfare system, frankly, tougher as well. So that is one set of changes to get some of those 9 million people back into the workforce instead of importing large numbers of low-skill, low-wage migrants. The other bit of the equation is more investment in technology and automation. I think some businesses have, instead of making those investments in technology and automation, have instead done the easier thing, which is just import low-wage migrants. Now, that isn't the right approach. I'd like to see more investment in technology and automation. Other countries have done that. For example, in South Korea, they use 9 times more robots for manufacturing than we do in the UK, in Australia and in New Zealand.
Mind you,
they
in
use,
fairness,
robotics and automation now to pick vegetables and fruit. Yeah.
I was going to say, in fairness, we've got a robot Prime Minister, so, you know, we're still ahead of them on that one.
It's well, our robot Prime Minister and our robot Chancellor are unfortunately malfunctioning quite badly, which is why they've made such terrible decisions to increase our tax. Our robot Prime Minister seems more interested in loading up on freebies from Lord Ali than he is in...
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny, because the Chagos Islands story sort of started, didn't it, when the Lord Ali allegations were at their height. That's all sort of gone away now, and we all thought at the time, is this Chagos Islands thing just a distraction? But it shows you what dangerous things can happen if you just sort of suddenly start flailing around the world and making policies that nobody can understand.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, Keir Starmer has not, and David Lammy have not been standing up for our interests, and the Chagos Islands capitulation is an example of that. I really do hope they change their mind, actually, and I hope a combination of the new government in Mauritius and the new government, the new president coming in America, bring that change about. Because if they give away that base, Diego Garcia, it is going to make the world a less safe place. And as we all know, a lease is not the same as sovereignty.
No.
Which is why we had sovereignty in the over that particular base in the first place, and we have sovereign bases elsewhere in the world as well for exactly that reason.
Chris, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Chris Philp MP, Shadow Leader of the House of Commons.